check, check, check.
Welcome. Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Matovu, Ohalecha Yaakov. On behalf of the family, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. All right. Better? All right. On behalf of the family, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today and welcome you. We're joining today to remember, to mourn, and to celebrate Steve. What happened in his life, what he did in his life, his accomplishments, his family, and the memories that he'll leave behind him. As we mourn his death, we're filled with loneliness. But let us also remember that there's light and good that he brought into this world. We say, Baruch Dayan Ha'emet, blessed is the true judge, who has made decisions that are beyond our understanding, and that we have to trust are in their right time. Adonai Natan v'Adonai lekach, Yi Shem Adonai mevarach. Adonai is given, and Adonai is taken. Praise be the name of Adonai. There's a lot of family here today and a lot of friends, and it's a beautiful tribute to someone to see these seats filled. Filled with Judith, his spouse, his children, 4 children, 5 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren, one of whom was able to come and join us today as well. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision and grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, all reveal the divine purpose. God, who is our support in struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and spirits of all flesh. Under divine protections we abide, and by God's love we are comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirit with abiding trust in you. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, minotesha yarbitzeni, amei menuchati nechalani, nafshi yoshvev, nafshi yeshovev, yancheni, yancheni v'magalei tzedek, yancheni v'magalei tzedek, leman shemo, gam ki elech, Lo hirara ki ata imadi, ki ata imadi. Shovti chameshanecha. Saying goodbye is hard. Mourning is hard. The Psalms give us a place to turn when we don't have the words of our own to express what we might be feeling. Psalm 23, a psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of darkness, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup runs over. We continue with a modern day prayer. This is my prayer to you, my God. Let not my spirit wither and shrivel in its thirst for you, and lose the dew with which you sprinkled it when I was young. May my heart be open to every broken soul, to orphaned life, to every stumbler, wandering unknown and groping in the shadows. Bless my eyes, purify me to see humanity's beauty rise up in the world, and the glory of my people in its redeeming land, spreading its fragrance over all the earth. Deep and broaden my senses to absorb a fresh, green, flowering world, to take from it the secret of blossoming in silence. I once heard grief described as a ball. We sometimes say that grief gets easier, loss gets easier, but I'm not sure that loss gets easier. But if we think of loss of grief as a ball, a glass large marble in a jar, it's not that that marble gets smaller, but that the jar gets larger as we move forward. The grief, the loss stay with us, but we're able to fill more in around that grief as we move forward. An epitaph. When I die, give what's left of me to children, and if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking beside you on the street. When you need me, put your arm around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, letting bodies touch bodies, and letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when it's all that's left of me is love, give me away. I'd like to invite Carl to come up and give us some of those pieces of Steve's life.
I haven't been up here since my bar mitzvah. And I hope my voice doesn't crack. To say that my father was a great dad is an understatement. He, with my ever delightful mom, is the bedrock of my best qualities and those of my own children. His was the universe I was born into, and it was a safe world where it was not only all right to be yourself, it was an imperative. He had no airs, no pretensions. He did not know how to posture. He was unflappable even when he knew he was terminally ill, and even more so last week when he was really sick. To say he was courageous is to confine his magnitude. He had impeccable grammar, of course, and regarded the well-spoken or elegantly written word as sacred. He had an encyclopedic knowledge of so many things: international cinema, contemporary fiction, early jazz arcana, and baseball. Batting averages, won-loss percentages, strikeouts, and earned run averages, so much was readily available to him infallibly. A few short weeks ago, while he lay on the couch half asleep, I told him I had just watched the French film Orpheus and was intrigued by the filmmaker Renoir. He opened one eye and simply said, "Cocteau." I said, "Are you sure?" He opened both eyes, gave me a look, and then went back to sleep. He was in a constant state of emergence. Every day was new. There was always a legion of tasks and to-do lists. Writing movie copy, correcting school papers, rebuilding steps, meeting with a new photographer or an old master, teaching a class, hanging a show, attending a noontime lecture with my mom, picking up cans of 35mm film at the Trailways bus station, the bank, the post office, the mundane to the profound, and yet he never appeared rushed, never harried, never lost patience, and inexplicably always had time to linger in a conversation with me. He would drop everything to visit with me, his son, which is the genesis of my sense of self-worth. His lessons were unspoken, complete and total honesty. He bore witness to the inherent goodness in us all, regardless of station or accomplishment. Prejudice was intolerable in his house. He truly did not have a devious bone in his body. He regarded everyone equally, whether it was one of his many celebrated and accomplished friends or an art school student working at the movies, finding his or her way. My parents' friends were exciting and intellectual. They regarded me, and a few became my own close friends. They delighted in their friendships and brought out the best in each other. He was a devoted son, and as Judy would tell you, a most loving husband. Steve and Judy were romantic for over 70 years. Until their last moments, their love was inspiring and undying. I see my dad in the brick sidewalks of Exchange Street. I see him through the eyes of his favorite photographers and beloved films. I see him in the streets of Rome that Claudia and I walked last month. I see him in the thickets of the Eastern Promenade where he courted my mother. I'll be here all week. I see my dad in the corked wind-up of a Major League fastball, and I see him on the covers of his Louis Armstrong Hot 5 LPs. I see him in the multitudes of books arranged by category, D.H. Lawrence and Henry Miller in the foyer, film books upstairs, and 2 bookcases filled with all things Italy in the guest bedroom where we sleep. I see him where the maple tree grows out of a crack in the wall at the shore of our cottage at Brandy Pond. And I see him in the stacks of New Yorker magazines in the living room. I see him in my children and in my grandchildren. I see my dad when I'm frightened, when I am sad or feel sick, and when I need assurances. I see him in my mind's eye. I see him in my own face when I awake to the bathroom mirror. Now I see him in the vapors. He is under my skin, he's in my head, he holds my hands, and he holds my cracked heart. He's just over my shoulder. I think I might see him if I turn quickly enough. My brother Jacob, my sisters Gretchen and Kate, we won the lottery. He had so much love for us. His love for my wife Claudette changed her life. Claudie, Stacy, and Ron, he loved you as his own. His love was true and unconditional. I will miss him every day, and pledged to carry on his legacy of chesed, loving kindness. When he was diagnosed, he told me how he so loved everything about his life and how he just didn't want to go. And he quoted from Hemingway, "The world is a fine place, and I hate very much to leave it." You are not gone, Dad. You are everywhere. Zichrono livracha. May your memory be a blessing. Thank you.
Each life teaches us vertically and horizontally. Horizontally among our generation, and vertically the generations that came before and came and will come after. Joanne, Steve's sister.
It's wonderful to see all of the loving friends and family that are here today. It's on. Can you hear me now? Okay. My big brother knew me from day one, and there's nobody else in the world who can say that. I admired him, I trusted him, and I looked up to him for all the things that I thought should exist in another guy. Hard to find. And I wanted to say that he's an individual who really believed in human decency. He wasn't cynical, which in these days would be understandable, but he really wanted to reach out and bring out the best in everyone. He believed that there was human kindness existing in every person, and he was able to almost bring it out in nearly everyone. I wanted to say that I think that he will, of course, be missed. There's no question. But I do believe his spirit will exist in all the things that he touched, in all the people that he admired. And what was wonderful is that he not only raised a loving family, but he reached out to many, many loving friends. Thank you.
I've never been up here. You know, at that time, girls just didn't. So, Carl, that was beautiful. We don't know what any of each other has written, and seeing all of you here chokes me up. Dad had an immense capacity for love, both giving and receiving. As a father, as you alluded to, Carl, he was always present, and no matter how busy he was. So if he was correcting papers at the dining room table or pasting up the movie poster, which he did at the dining room table instead of his spacious office at Westbrook College, because he wanted to be home with us. And if I came into the room and just said, "Dad," he would stop what he was doing, he would look up, meet my eyes, and say, "What?" and listen. He never, ever said, "I'm busy." Never. "Can it wait?" No. He was engaged always. My friends would come over incredulous and say to me, "Your father talks to you." Actually talks to you. And he would talk to my friends too. He had many loves, which you know, which he pursued professionally. He also loved nature. He loved Brandy Pond. He loved canoeing, being a camp counselor. He taught me how to pick up a snake, how to bait a hook, how to do the J stroke in the canoe. He marveled at the night skies. We'd lie on the dock up at the lake looking at the constellations, and he loved trees, even when they deposited themselves at our houses, which seemed to be frequent. But he still loved them. His primary love, above and beyond, was Judy. And he told that to us often, even though it was evident that she was the greatest love of his life. I remember one time we were up at the lake and he said, you know how good it is when you're all here? It's even better when you're not. So I only have good memories of my father, and we got to say goodbye to each other. For both of those things, I'm grateful. So, yeah. Love him forever.
This is not my first time in a synagogue or temple, but it's the first time I've ever been on stage. I'm Ron, I'm Steve's son-in-law, and I have many fond memories of Steve. I especially enjoyed our time at Brandy Pond when we would have conversations. Sometimes it was the occasional boy talk, but usually it was about family, books, or sports. Sometimes I would be moved to write. And today I would like to share a poem with you called Brandy Pond that I wrote about Steve and Judy. They sit on their dock at Brandy Pond. The morning sun is warm. Judy with her crossword puzzle. Steve reads. Intimacy founded in the comfort of shared years. Unspoken words, their happiness today. As hours pass, Steve's cup is empty. He nods. The breeze flips the pages of his book. Judy glances up and smiles. I anticipated I would hear, "Hey, Stevie, are you asleep?" But this morning all remains quiet. Judy returned to her puzzle, their love for each other unmistakable. I love you, Steve. I will miss our chats.
Thank you. You know, I had the honor to sit with some of the family the other day, and not only did I get a tremendous amount of Maine history and connections in that short period of time, but I think the biggest thing that I learned about Steve and about the family was their connectedness and his love for the family, that they deal with everything with humor, and the ability to really have the two of you set this example for your children and their children and their children already, which is a beautiful gift for us to give to our descendants, the example of a strong and healthy marriage. I think it was Gretchen who said something about Steve being an atheist, but he was the most Jewish atheist ever. And as they talked a little bit more, I was like, yeah, that's Jewish. That's Jewish too. The cottage clearly was this incredibly strong piece of both his childhood and your childhood and grandchildren, etc. And a beautiful thing as well to hand down. But I think my favorite thing was that, and I believe it was Kate, walked in with a sharpened number 2 pencil, or what, it was one of the two of you, and said that Dad always had a stack of sharpened number 2 pencils. And for those of us above a certain age who did Scantrons, having a sharp pencil was always very important. Clearly he will be missed, but it's also clear that his values and his love and his ideals are already in those that he leaves behind. We continue with El Male Rachamim. El Male Rachamim, Shochen B'Amorim, Hamatzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Shechina, B'Ma'alot Kiddushim V'Torim, Kezohar Harakia Machirim, Et Nishmat Tzvi Ben Kalman, Shalach Lalamo, Began Eden Te Menuchato, Anam Al Rachamim, Hastirehu Beseter Knafecha, Leolamim, Utzrur Bitzur HaChaim Et Nishmato, Adonai Hu Nachalato, V'yachnuch Bashalom, Amishkavo V'nomar Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Tzvi, son of Kalman, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. We'll continue at the cemetery. In a moment, we'll ask for the pallbearers to come forward to begin escorting Steve on his final walk. We'll meet at the Temple Beth El Cemetery. We'll go directly from there to here. And this evening, you are invited to Shiva to visit with the family from 2 to 7:30 p.m. at Judy's house, 150 Craigie Street. Okay, 150 Craigie Street. But if the pallbearers would come forward now. Once Steve has begun his final passage, we will allow the family to go, and then we will follow the family out to our vehicles.